Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how presidential decrees, presidential granting of asylum, these sorts of things based on a broad category. For example, all people from Haiti or all people from Guatemala or all people from wherever, if there's been some sort of a supposed disaster, like it could be an earthquake or I don't know, major flood or something like that, that the American president has the power to just make these sweeping blanket asylum provisions. And so they call it various names like temporary status, or temporary protection status, or temporary work status, or whatever it might be. So they grant millions of people come into the United States, from Haiti and elsewhere, South America and so on. And it's a blanket provision. It's not it's not based on individual. Say, was that individual? Did they lose their house in the earthquake, or is the business they worked at has been leveled in the earthquake? Therefore, so they're a poor country, so they're permitted to come to the United States. Often they're given temporary status with also a work permit, so they can seek employment as floor sweepers and whatever. Because it's a blanket, there's no individual case. It's just a blanket. Anybody from Haiti who wants to come to the United States, or from anywhere, come to the United States from that country can come. Venezuela, the economy's bad. You can come in and that's it. You're done. I'm from Venezuela. I'm from Haiti. Done. So hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people come to the United States. We have people who have genuine need, perhaps people who are freeloaders, people who are just out to scam the system, game the system. There's all sorts of folks. Ideally, they should stay in their own country and help rebuild it. But okay, that's another discussion. The point being is the president has the powers to just issue these blanket sort of provisions. There's no individual assessment of the cases at all. It's just a blanket provision. Anybody from that part of the world can come into the United States and stay and work. Now, sometimes these are, and often, temporary protection status. It's something that, say, they're given 12 months or 2 years or 3 years, or sometimes it's on the basis of, well, when conditions improve in your country. That's a bit more vague. And what does that mean, conditions improve? Is there some sort of a standard or a measuring criteria for that? But nonetheless, the point I'm sort of getting at here is that the president can just arbitrarily, unilaterally just say it, just decree it is so. And it's a blanket provision, applies to everybody from that part of the world. Anyway, the president, President Trump and the Trump administration has revoked these, or in the case where they're expiring, these blanket temporary protection visa type things, in cases where they're expiring, the Trump administration is not renewing, and in some cases they get renewed as not renewing these temporary protection status, and that these people are being told they have to leave, and they've got a certain time, 30 days, 60 days, whatever, to leave the country and go back to their home countries, whether it be in Haiti or El Salvador, if it doesn't matter, they go back to their home countries. Now, an activist group, well-funded activist group, has gone and found a judge, an activist federal judge, who in my opinion should not be a judge, but has found an activist judge who says, no, you can't do it. Whereas the president has the power to sweeping powers to just give asylum. The president has no power to revoke asylum. What are you even talking about, you fucking idiot? If the president has the power to just blanket grant asylum to millions of people, why doesn't he also have the power to revoke that asylum, the office of the president? No. You can grant asylum on a blanket basis to everybody, but if you want to revoke it, it must be only on a case-by-case basis. Now, that's patently absurd. It's obviously lawfare. Now, if I was advising the Trump administration, which I'm not, by the way, but if I were, I'd say, okay, well, let's do that. Let's have special courtrooms of 100 people, 1,000 people in the courtroom at once. The mass court, and so okay, how many people can recite the Lord's Prayer in English? I don't know. Find some people. If you can't, okay, you're going back. And they say, well, no, we handle that individually. Can you prove right now in the court that you're suffering hardship or will suffer hardship? What's your evidence? Oh, I don't know. I can make up a story if you want. Nah, you got no evidence, buddy. You're going back. And so go, okay, you want to play that game? We'll play that game. You want to debase the legal process? Let's debase it. I would rather the legal process didn't get debased. And I would rather that the an activist judge is not allowed to make a decision in an area of their activism. And right now, the Justice Department in the United States should be looking at all communications, all private communications that judge has had, and the judge's assistants and court administrators have had with activist groups leading up to that judge's decision. And I will guarantee you'll find that these activist groups are saying, well, we'll say this, you do that, here's the judgment we want you to give. And they would discover all of that happening. With texts and all sorts of messages, and that should be used then to impeach the judge. Say, hey, yeah, you're not making a decision based on the law. You're in cahoots with activist groups that are actively hating on and disrupting the government and the efficient operations of government in the United States. Now, I'd rather the judiciary wasn't attacked that way. To me, the sanctity and independence of the judiciary should be returned. And given that the Democrats have, the last Senate, the 2020 Senate election, which gave the Democrats a majority in the Senate, that, in my view, that was at least 2, if not 3 Senate district elections were rigged, in my view, in the same way that the Biden presidential election was. Therefore, every activist judge that's been appointed, during that 4 years, has been illegitimately appointed, and that's something I'd go chasing after. That prove those elections were illegitimate, were rigged, and then go back and say, well, look, therefore the judges you appointed can't be considered as they've got to reapply for their judgeships. And that way you'd be able to get rid of most of those activist judges. Anyway, this judge that blocked the president's revoking of asylum status goes back further than that. I think she's an Obama-appointed judge. But nonetheless, I'd rather maintain the sanctity of the judiciary, if that's at all possible, given the aggressive attempt, the globalist. Hey, when you look at it, in 2016, they thought Hillary would win. They were shocked when Trump won, and Trump got 3 appointments to the Supreme Court, 2 conservative justices and one sort of gadfly justice, and the Democrats had just assumed that Hillary would win and they would appoint radical leftists to the Supreme Court. They wanted the Supreme Court. They really wanted that. When they didn't get it, they then took the other option and said, okay, we haven't got the Supreme Court, so what we'll do is we'll infect the district courts with activist jurists. And that's why they needed to win the Senate in 2020. It was to counter the effect of them not gaining control of the Supreme Court. So anyway, this judge has then said, okay, you can blanket give asylum, but you can't blanket reverse asylum. Now, a judge like that has no place in the judiciary. If she wanted to say, well, the giving of asylum was illegitimate, therefore, as in it was blanket, therefore these people have to leave anyway, because their granting of asylum was never legitimate in the first place, because you can't give blanket asylum. You can only do it on a case-by-case basis, so she argues, and that was never done then. Therefore, their existing status is illegitimate. Now, the activists that are involved in ginning that judge up to give the verdict, where is their money coming from? Why is it that they can get emergency hearings on judges and get judges that comply 100% with what they're requesting? Why is it when asylum was first given to all these millions of Haitians? Why was there no legal challenges against that at the time? Why does this lawfare only go one way? and that's in support of the globalist cabal. Why wasn't there legal cases against the blanket giving of asylum? These are things we really need to talk about, because if the lawfare is only one way, then why is it only one way? Why is there not lawfare going back the other way? And it just doesn't seem to be the case. You've been a Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.